Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass, laughing in the color here with you on Grande's Graveyard. Now I'm wondering if y'all can fucking hear what I just said, because I have no unearthly idea what I'm doing. I tried this screen share and I got my mic working. I think. I don't know. I need somebody in the chat to give me the old if y'all can hear me. I'm gonna even just I'll throw out the question in the chat. Can y'all hear me? Because I have no idea. I've never done this before. Question mark. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if y'all can hear me. Y'all can hear me. Okay, you got it, bruv. That's what Corey says. So I will take his word for it. If not, this entire thing is gonna be silent. So I don't know. But yeah, no. So basically, I actually got this idea from Corey, and I know other people do this, but I was like, yo, this looks like a bunch of fun to just go out and rank shit one by one, movie by movie. And Corey did a really cool one on slasher movies, and he also did one on like horror franchises, which are probably two better subjects than what I picked here today. Um, I was like thinking about it. What should I do? What should I do if I ever do one of these? And this isn't going to be your classic like hour long graveyard or hour plus long graveyard. I just figured this would be a fun like test run into using this tier list. And I was just like, I don't know. I was figuring it'd be a little bit of fun. AJ Zetro's in the heezy. Damn, didn't know you were doing this. Just started recording a pod with Dr. Howdy. No way, dude. When is the podcast going to be out? Yeah, no, this is very impromptu, AJ. So no worries. I'm not going to be too long on this. This isn't a classic graveyard episode here. This is just like a fun thing I'm trying to do just to test this out. If this goes well, I'll definitely do more. And Corey says, nah, man, Argento rankings fuck the world. Hell yeah, man. I'm a huge Dario Argento mark. I just watched the Bird with the Crystal Plumage 4K, and I was like, yo, I would really like to do like a ranking of his movies. So without further ado, I guess we can jump right into this. Let me switch screens here. I won't be able to see your comments until I can flip back and forth, I guess. But right now I see this other screen. So basically, what we got here is we got the S tier, A, B, C, D, all the way to F. Of course, I hope we don't have too many Fs on this list, and I hope we have a bunch of A's or A's and S's, I guess. Bunch of asses, if you will. But yeah, no, I guess without further ado, we can jump right into this son of a bitch, and we can go right through Argento's filmography. And I guess we could start with the one that I started last night. At least I watched the 4K of this last night. That is The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Now, it's not an F, but I guess this will just be my like dummy row, I guess. So every film I talk about, I'll put it here and then discuss why I'd put it higher. Now, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage is actually a really fantastic debut. And last night when I watched it on 4K, it was just spectacular to go back and revisit. This is your classic Giallo film from Argento, and it's one of the movies that pioneered that whole entire Giallo genre, whether it be filmmakers like Umberto Lenzi following in his footsteps. But I think it also takes a great derivative from Mario Bava's film, Blood and Black Lace. That's a really, really great Giallo film, very colorful, and it's probably the movie that inspired Dario Argento's career the most. But interesting thing about this one, the producer was not a fan of what Argento had shot like the first couple weeks, and he actually wanted to fire Dario Argento. And much to Argento's dismay, he actually invited him over to his beach house and was like, "Hey, man, I want you off this project. I don't care for your filming style. This is a mess. This is not going to work." And if this film had bombed, we probably would not be doing this list right now because I don't think Argento would have had much of a career as a filmmaker after this. Unfortunately, he probably would have been stuck being a screenwriter or a director's assistant for the rest of his career. And that would have been a crying shame. But thankfully, when The Bird with the Crystal Plumage opened, it ended up being just this massive hit, especially when it opened up in like Venice and Rome, which is where it was shot. And Argento shows a really cool, different side of Rome in this. It basically tells the story of this man. He's walking home one night and he sees this woman getting murdered, and she survives. It's like a brutal stabbing to the stomach, but he is trying to like unravel the mystery of as to why she got killed. And it's a really, really well done Giallo film. It's not very gory, but it does type into a lot of the like psychosomatic themes of a killer. And there's a lot of twists and turns along the way. It definitely, I didn't see the ending of this coming when I first watched it, but I like the old school, like red herrings and trying to make me guess who the killer is going to be. I just really enjoy the style of The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. It's going to be a very high A for me on this ranking list. Of course, I'll entertain your comments here. I'm going to go back and see the comments. Let's check it out. Corey's probably my only person watching right now. FTW, Folk the World, and For the Win. Hella yeah. You can also check YouTube comments from your phone if you're streaming from a laptop. Oh, I didn't even think of that, Corey. You know what? I will go ahead and do that. Let me pull out my phone here and silence the sound a little bit. And then we can actually, that's a great idea. We will do this right from our phone. Okay, so I am now in the comments. This is a much better way of doing this, so I don't have to go from screen to screen. Need to watch The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Added to the collection. A for me. Yeah, no, definitely. I really am. I'm a big fan of The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. It's a really solid film. Highly recommend the 4K. It looked very, very good. But then moving on into his next film, of course, this is the second of the Three Animals trilogy. Of course, Argento is famous for two trilogies, the Three Animals trilogy that started his career, and then, of course, the famed Three Mothers trilogy that came once Suspiria came out in 1977. But this is the Cat O' Nine Tails. And I gotta be honest, for his filmography, this is one of my lesser picks for Argento. And it's in a lot of ways, this is like a sophomore slump type of film. I know a lot of the behind the scenes stuff is that the producers, they pushed him to do this film a little bit quicker and they wanted to just churn this out right after The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Like they just immediately were like, throw money at this and hopefully you'll turn out another masterpiece like The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. And I think this is a type of film that Argento was just very rushed on the production, and I do consider it the weakest of the Three Mothers trilogy. I'm sorry, the Three Animals trilogy. I definitely find it to be the weakest of the three. It's not the worst movie in the world. Like it's definitely average to just slightly above average. But again, for Argento's filmography, I wouldn't say that this is like one of his all-time best. It's either a B minus or a C plus for me. Man, this is really hard. I'm gonna actually go with man, this is actually really hard. Like B minus C plus. I'll go C plus. I think it's like a C plus. It's definitely middle of the road for me. And Corey agrees here. Cat O' Nine Tails was mid B minus to C plus. Yeah, definitely around my range as well. It's not the best movie in the world. It's definitely, I think, a step back, but it's not a movie that I blame Argento for. I do blame the producers. I think they totally pushed him into an uncomfortable spot, and I think that the result in the film shows, unfortunately. Not his worst work, but definitely not worthy of his first film or his third film. This is Four Flies on Grey Velvet. That's the third film he made. Much better movie, in my opinion. A much better standout in this trilogy as opposed to Cat O' Nine Tails, and a big rebound, I think, for Argento. And I know some people, they'll actually say they think this is better than The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. It's tough for me, to be honest. It's close. I think these are both fantastic films. And I think there are some aspects of this movie that are slightly better than The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. But at the same time, part of me likes just the simplicity of The Bird with the Crystal Plumage and the old school nature of it. So it's close for me, but this is going to be another A for me because I just really enjoy the style of this movie. Shameless has an excellent Blu-ray edition of this out, and I'm wondering if I know Arrow did a 4K of The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, and they did a 4K of Cat O' Nine Tails. So I'm assuming that the 4K of Four Flies on Grey Velvet's coming next. I picked up Bird. I skipped on Cat O' Nine, so hopefully they do Four Flies on Grey Velvet because I'd really like to see that one on 4K. I think that one would really benefit from it. Next is Door into Darkness. Now, this was a TV series that Argento did 2 episodes of. I honestly have not checked either episode out. I honestly don't know where I would watch these. I don't know if anybody else would know. I see Aiden Bavers in the house. What's going on, Aiden, good brother? I'm on my phone looking at the comments now, so you probably won't see me on this stream, but you can definitely hear me, thankfully. I definitely I don't know where to watch these. Maybe Aiden would know. I feel like Aiden would be the person to ask, but I've not seen these. So it's really not fair to me to go ahead and rank these. So I'm gonna keep Door into Darkness on here. And actually the same goes for this. This is the 5 days. This was Argento's like only um dive into comedy. And I'm not sure if there's an edition in the United States, a VHS, a DVD. I don't think it exists in the United States. Maybe overseas it does, but to my knowledge, there's not a edition of this in the US, a physical copy that you can get. So once again, this is another Argento film that I actually have not seen. So I can't really be unfair and rank it when I haven't seen it. But I do promise from here on out, I've seen the rest of these. But I don't know. These are two that just it's more of the fact that they're not really easy to find, these two. Like I think maybe you can find Door into Darkness overseas, but the 5 days, I swear to you, I don't know a single person that's seen the film, and if there is, I would love to know what they think of an Argento comedy. Like I would love to just see it out of sheer curiosity for me. But I don't know. Those two I can't rank. I apologize. But the rest I promise we will rank. And the next one up is Profondo Rosso, aka Deep Red from 1975. This is, I think, right up there with Argento's best works. And I think that there's just so much to love about this movie, whether it be David Hemming in the lead, whether it be Darian Nicolodi as his sidekick almost, and the kind of battle of the sexes between the two. Of course, this one follows almost the exact same plot of The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, where, of course, David Hemmings witnesses a murder. He keeps kind of going back to, oh, there was something wrong with the murder scene, something I didn't notice at the time, but something that was off. And it plays a lot with the whole like our memories can trick us, stuff like that. And I don't know. I think this is a really, really great movie. Of course, I believe Claudio Simonetti, this was the first time he worked with him on the music. And then, of course, in Bird with the Crystal Plumage, it was Morricone. Um, I just absolutely love the score of this movie. I just love the gore in it. I think just it's a masterpiece. It really is a true masterpiece. I think this is Argento's first real masterpiece. And I don't know. I just think the world of Deep Red. I think this is a great, great film. This is going to be an S tier for me. One of Argento's best works, easily. Just a masterpiece of a film. A movie that every single time I watch it, it almost makes me ask the question, what is his best film? This, Suspiria, Phenomena, I mean, Tenebrae. There's so many that are up there with his best. But to me, Profondo Rosso is definitely in the conversation, and it probably is my second favorite Argento film of all time. Now, looking at the comments, did you say the 5 days? Yes, the 5 days, Corey, that's the Argento comedy that he made. Now, I did too, and I see Aiden's comment here. Um, he says Doors is available on DVD. It won't get a Blu-ray anytime soon. Okay, so I can check it out. I don't know where to find Five Friends for 5 days. That's ain't available on Blu or DVD. Yeah, no. I don't know. I don't know why that's the case. I mean, just on his name alone, you think some company would be like, "Fuck it, let's put this out." I would assume that the movie costs nothing to buy the rights, and to be like, "Oh, we're releasing a Dario Argento movie." I mean, I would buy it. I would fucking buy it. So I don't really fully understand why they don't go ahead and put it out, but I don't know. I don't know who owns the rights to it. I don't know anything about it. So the 5 days, that's a tough one to rank for me. But coming up next, well, I mean, can you say the words magnum opus, 1977's effort from Dario Argento, his first step away from making Giallo films, and I guess, of course, the one comedy was a step away, but this was his supernatural witch film. This is Suspiria. Yes, Suspiria. To me, the best film he ever made. I mean, what else can I say about this movie than the fantastic cinematography, the score by Goblin, that dreamsicle lullaby score by Goblin. Just absolutely incredible stuff, in my opinion. I adore the lullaby score. I think it's just so haunting. The use of color, the use of red, blue, magenta, that scene where the room turns green. I mean, the scene where the woman, she falls into this barbed wire pit in this blue room. It's the most beautiful film arguably ever. And I picked up the Synapse Blue of this. It looks absolutely incredible. I know there's a 4K of it as well from Synapse. I have not been able to check out their 4K of it yet, but I really would like to someday. I'd like to upgrade, and that's one that Suspiria. No matter how many times I watch it, it every single time just blows me away. No matter how many times I've seen the film, I definitely think Suspiria is his magnum opus, his greatest film ever. Jessica Harper is wonderful in the film. I think the film has an amazing pace, and I can harken back to a short little, if I could be afforded the time to tell you all a story. The last time I watched Suspiria, I watched with my friend Kyle, and he had never seen the film before, and just watching not just the film, but watching his amazement of the film, it was almost like rewatching it for the first time in my life, just because he was so mesmerized by it. And that's exactly how I was. And I always remember that last shot of Susie Bannion coming out of the school in the pouring rain and the buildings burning down. And she just laughs, walks off. And then you get that classic credit of, "You have been watching Suspiria." Because Suspiria isn't just a film, Suspiria is an experience. I think Suspiria is one of the top 10 best horror films ever made. It's actually my number 11 favorite movie of all time. And to me, it's Dario Argento's best film of all time. It's going to be an S tier. Yeah, I guess they'll put them in order up here. That's going to be an S tier for me. Absolute no brainer for me. I love Suspiria, one of my favorite movies of all time. Now, looking back into the comments, for better or for worse, Argento will always be remembered for Suspiria. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think for good reason too. I mean, I think it's a masterpiece of a movie. F tier too good. Yeah, no, I mean, I should have probably had a. I don't know how to add a dummy column to this. Like, I don't know. So everyone's gonna be like, if somebody just like kind of tries to scroll through this and be like, he had fucking Suspiria had an F. What an idiot. But no, I promise. I guess I could keep them down here, but I like to single them out like down here and just be like, okay, this is the one I'm talking about now. Sorry, everybody. I'm a little new to this. I'm definitely not a veteran like Corey. But I don't know. This has been so fun so far. So far, so good. Next, though, this movie, man, I'm so on the fence with this movie. This is one of those movies that I know a lot of people consider one of his best, but not me, man. This is Inferno from 1980, of course, the second of the Three Mothers trilogy. And I gotta say, while I think this is stylistically and from a color standpoint, probably his most beautiful film. And that's saying a lot, because Suspiria is just, I mean, one of the most beautiful color paletted films of all time. But when you're talking about Inferno, it may just be even more beautiful. Like, I know this is one that needs a 4K. Like, when this comes out on 4K, they should charge $60 for it, because everybody should buy it. I mean, from a visual standpoint, it's arguably his best movie. However, I don't think as much as this one as I do of Suspiria. And a lot of that I think is hearkened to Argento was actually like deathly ill when they started filming this. And actually he took a few weeks off of the filmmaking of this. And depending on who you ask, a lot of people said that Mario Bava, who was helping the second unit, he actually came in and took over the helm of the film. Now, I'm not positive if that is completely the case. Like, I've heard reports that that's the case. I've heard from people on set that's the case. It's one of those, like, poltergeist controversies where people are like, oh, some people say Tobe Hooper, some people say Steven Spielberg, like it goes back and forth. However, I think Inferno, it's definitely, like, from a visual standpoint, it looks like it could be Bava or Argento. But from the storyline standpoint, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I mean, I've seen Inferno, I don't know how many times, but to this day, it's such a hard film to follow. Like, it does not make much sense. And I don't know, they also switch leads of the film, like halfway through. They switch from this woman to her brother. And, like, I don't know, I didn't find him nearly as interesting as I found her. So this movie always is kind of run of the mill for me with Argento's career. I know he considers it one of his worst. Like, he's actually openly said that Inferno is one of his least favorite films that he ever did. I don't know if it's the least favorite, but I know it's on the bottom, towards the bottom for Dario Argento. For me, though, it's definitely a solid enough movie. Like, it's a passable movie, especially just from the visuals and style alone. And I think some of the scare sequences, some of the, gore sequences, it's definitely fantastic from that level. But from a storyline standpoint, I don't know, definitely a step down from Suspiria for me. It's going to come in at a B for me. I think it's definitely a passable film. It's definitely a watchable film. It's a film that every Argento fan has to see. But I don't think it's as good as some of his best. I do think it's a step down from Suspiria. I do think it's a step down from Deep Red. It's not his worst movie, but it's certainly not his best, in my opinion. I know that's going to be unpopular, but for me, Inferno comes in at a solid B. Um, let's see the comments. Aiden says, I guarantee that if the color palette wasn't there, most people would be more critical of Inferno. Yeah, no, and like, don't get me wrong, it has its moments. Like, it has its scenes where I love the scene where Ennio Pieroni is sitting in the lecture hall. And of course, that's the Mother of Tears. Of course, before, 27 years before Mother of Tears gets released, Ennio Pieroni plays the Mother of Tears. Of course, she was in films like Lucio Fulci's House by the Cemetery. She was also in the film we're going to talk about next, Tenebrae, as one of the first victims of the film. But I really like her. She just stands out. That scene of the lecture hall where he sees her and they kind of gaze in each other's eyes, and then she just sort of disappears. I mean, that's just great stuff. And some of the scenes where she's swimming underwater to find the key, and some of the blues and like the purples, like the deep purples they use, just fucking stunning. And I love the color of gore they use in this film. I will say that I'm not a big fan of the score done by oh my god, what the heck's his damn name? Oh, I can't think of his damn name. They had somebody aside from Goblin step in and do the score, and I can't think of the fucking guy's name. This is horrible. I'm sorry. I'm such a bad fucking. I usually am good with names too. I can't think of the guy's name, but they had him come in and try to do the score, and it's okay, but it's at the same time it's like a intimidated, like, I don't know how to put it. It's just like a bad imitation at some days. Like, I think some of it's good. It's like Suspiria. Okay, thank you. Aiden got me. Keith Emerson. That's who they had come in to do the score, and it's very up and down for me. The score. I don't know. I'm very kind of iffy on the score. It's to me, it's just like he's trying to be Goblin, and you can't try to be Goblin. You are Goblin or you're not. I need to watch Inferno again. Least watch Argento that I own. Story feels all over the place. Yes, it definitely is all over the place. Eddie Spaghetti, I wish it was Eddie Spaghetti, because maybe he would have done a better job than Keith Emerson. Not that Keith Emerson did bad, but I don't know. Coming up next, though, from 1982, this is his return to the giallo genre when everybody was saying, you're a hack, you've fallen out, you went and sold out making these weird supernatural witch films. We want giallos, we want giallos, we want giallos. And Dario Argento kind of turns around and makes this masterpiece known as Tenebrae in 1982. Of course, John Saxon's in this film, of course, a longtime horror veteran. And this tells the story of this writer who writes the book called Tenebrae, and in Italian, that translates to The Darkness. And he writes this book, and he basically is being threatened by this person that there's going to be killings going on. And one by one, people are getting picked off. And you kind of, once again, are introduced to a lot of red herrings and trying to figure out who is doing this and why and stuff like that. And this is just a fantastic Dario Argento film, in my opinion. And the scene that stands out the most to me is the shot where these two sisters, or I think it's these two roommates, they're in their apartment. One of them's just gotten out of the shower and they're just talking, bullshitting, whatever. Argento uses this fantastic fucking crane shot where he goes from lower floor to upper floor. He's following them back and forth while they're talking. One of them's getting out of the shower on the top floor and the other one's on the ground floor. And one of them was putting on a shirt, and they cut this hole through the shirt and just wham, this crazy stab stomach kill. Insanely brutal, man. Just absolutely brutal kill. And I love the shot of the one girl falling through the glass, which is actually this thumbnail here of the blood trickling down her throat, her hair get draped over this this glass. And it's just absolutely fantastic shot. It's Argento at his finest. There's also a scene where this woman who's sitting in the kitchen, like waiting for, I guess, hell to pay. She has this gun in her hand. All of a sudden, this axe just breaks through the window, cuts off her arm, and this crazy blood spatter, this beautiful, crazy blood spatter across the wall. Just absolutely gorgeous stuff, and a gorgeous use of the color red, I think. And I really like, there's some great dream sequences where this person imagines this woman on the beach with her red shoes, and she's like shoving her heel down this guy's throat, and just some of the dream sequences in this are just absolutely magical, in my opinion, from Argento. It's a great return to the giallo genre for Argento. I think it's a giallo really dialed up to 11, where he just decided, I want to make this a lot more gory, I want to make this a lot more intense, and he brings the same style. This movie has a scope that you could never imagine. I believe this was the same cinematographer he worked with Suspiria, so it has that similar scope to it. In a lot of ways, I always felt that John Carpenter's success, the secret to his success, was with cinematographer Dean Cundey, and I think with Argento, the cinematographer that he worked with here and with Suspiria, that's really the secret to his success. It's the scope of these two movies. It's just absolutely fantastic. For me, Tenebrae is an S tier. I love it. It's one of my favorite Dario Argento films, and one I always go back and rewatch and have a great time with. I think I think it's a really, really good, solid entry. And for what it's worth, I know a lot of people never mention this, but Tenebrae, I believe, is the highest rated film on the Video Nasties list from critics, which is actually pretty crazy considering the 72 movies on the Video Nasties list. Tenebrae is the highest rated one. So take that for what it's worth. I don't know if it is the best Video Nasty. There's a lot of great Video Nasties out there, but Tenebrae is definitely one of the best ones out of the bunch. Tenebrae is amazing, and that score is one of the best ever. Oh my God, I love the score, man. Really, really good stuff. Highly agreed. Tenebrae, Deep Red, Suspiria, untouchable goats of Argento's catalogs. My most watched, one of my favorite climaxes in horror. Hell yeah, it deserves the S slot. Yeah, no, it really does. This really does deserve the S slot, in my opinion. I think I know a lot of people sleep on this film. I don't know why, but I think it's a fantastic movie. I think it's a really cool middle finger to all the people that didn't like Suspiria and Inferno too, because everybody was like, you're getting away from your bread and butter. And Argento was like, you want bread and butter? I'm down with bread and butter, but I'm going to bring bread, butter. I'm going to bring a little bit of a knife to spread the butter, and I'm going to bring a little bit of the knife to spread some gore all over the freaking screen. And Argento just knocks it out of the park with Tenebrae, one of my favorite Dario Argento films. And now on to his effort from 1985, of course, starring the beautiful Jennifer Connelly and the legendary Donald Pleasance. This is his film from 1985. This is Phenomena. Something like a phenomena, baby. I'm sorry. I can't help myself sometimes. I am a mark, and I will die a mark, but never mind that. Phenomena from 1985. Again, to me, one of his best goddamn movies ever. And just this great little tale of Jennifer Connelly's character, who she moves to this new school and she's kind of not fitting in the greatest there. And she has this kind of weird chemistry with insects, and she loves insects. Like, she's totally in love, head over heels, with insects. I know, weird sounding, but she also comes across Donald Pleasance's character, and he's this, like, also a bug expert, and they have some great little scenes together in this. I really like their chemistry together. And basically there's this killer going around killing people one by one, and it's just a wacky fucking film. Like, it's funny from a serious standpoint. There is some goofy shit in this movie. There really is. But for what it's worth, I think that when this movie clicks, it clicks perfectly. I love the finale of Jennifer Connelly in the house with Dario Nicolodi, who shows a little bit of a dark side in this movie. I really like Dario Nicolodi. I think she was fantastic, to Argento's success. I think she was a fantastic key to why his movies worked. And this is no exception. I know this was, I believe, the last film they worked on together while they were still married. Whereas when Opera comes around, that was around the time they got divorced, I believe. And I really like the finale of this, where Jennifer Connelly, she runs into the disgusting pit of dirt and mud and all this, and she climbs out, and then of course runs into Dario Nicolodi's deformed son, and that shit's crazy. Of course, the crazy chimpanzee wielding a switchblade, and fucking Dario Nicolodi decapitates Jennifer Connelly's dad, and like, holy shit. Of course, the great soundtrack and songs used by Motorhead, like Edge of the Blade, I believe, And then I believe there's one other that I can't think of, but some of the music used in this film is just absolutely phenomenal. I love the use of heavy metal during some of the murder sequences. And it's really a fantastic mix of the two. And this is, I think, a great way of mixing something like a Suspiria, like supernatural stuff, with a giallo. Is this a straight up giallo? No. Is this a straight up supernatural? No. But I think it's one of the most grand of Argento films. I'll say it. I think this is the most grand Dario Argento movie. Is a little bit of everything in it. It has great acting. It has great music. It has great death scenes. It has a great pace, no matter what cut you watch. I know that there's quite a few cuts of Phenomena, whether it be the US cut called Creepers, which is really, really butchered down. I highly recommend you skip that. There's the international cut, and then there's an extended cut. I always watch the extended cut because, in my opinion, you can never get enough of Phenomena. I think it's just Argento's most grand movie. It has a little bit of everything for somebody, and it's one of my all-time favorite Argento films. Another film that's going to be in the S tier for me. I love Argento's Phenomena. I think it's just a wonderful movie, wonderful tale, and another one that I believe of all of Argento's films, it was his personal favorite of all the stuff that he ever directed. I believe it was his favorite movie he ever did, and rightfully so. I think it's a great pick. I see John Steele's in the house. John Steele, what's going on, good brother? Hope all is well with you tonight, buddy. Aiden says, I love that song. And then Corey says, throws bread and butter at the screen. Yeah, but hey, man, whatever you want to do to have fun with it. But now moving on to his film from 1987. This is another one that every fucking time I watch it, I'm just like, dude, more people need to talk about opera. And it's from 1987, of course, opera. And this is a great one. This tells the story of this understudy of this big opera. And she gets the lead role after the lead of the opera gets kind of attacked and rolls her ankle or whatever. So she can't perform. Then this other girl steps in so she can shine in the spotlight, if you will. Of course, she does it. She nails the role. And after the show, she is met by this crazy stalker person who doesn't kill her, has numerous chances to kill her. Instead, he tapes needles, these little needles under her eyes. And as she blinks, they'll pierce the top of her eyelids. And then basically what he does is he kills her, whoever she's with in front of her in all these brutal ways. There's this great butcher knife to the throat, like this stab to the throat kill that looks absolutely insane. And he also uses heavy metal a lot in this. He dials the heavy metal up really loud during the murder sequences to make them feel very intense. And to me, it's another absolute fucking masterpiece. I also love the shots in the end where you think all is well and you think that the film is over, and then of course it's not. Some of the beautiful shots of that landscape and that mountain, oh my god, just absolutely incredible stuff. Another one that I'd like to see come to 4K, I had the DVD for the longest fucking time, and I actually gave it to the horror boy, of course, Nate. He didn't have the movie, and I was like, hey, you know what, I will eventually upgrade this one day, so do you want the DVD? And he was like, absolutely. And so I sent it over to good brother Nate, and he really, really enjoyed the film. You can actually check out his review of it too. He gave an awesome review for opera, and I'm glad he enjoyed the movie. But opera's a masterpiece. Of course, the scene where Daria Nicolodi, she's looking through the peephole and gets her fucking head blown off by this gun. And I know Saw 2, the movie Saw 2, that ripped it off a lot, which I thought was really funny. I was like, yo, Saw 2, I know you ripped that shit off from Argento. I know Darren, what the hell has his damn name? Darren, is this his name? I can't think of his damn name. The fucking guy who directed Saw 2, I can't think of. I'm so bad with names tonight. I don't know. It's Sunday. It's weird. Usually I'm much more prepared, but this is more of an impromptu stream, I guess. But yeah, he fucking ripped that off. That shit was ripped off, I think. But I do think the lead was really beautiful woman. I know Argento has said that she was really difficult to work with, unfortunately. So that's a shame, but I definitely think that she did a good job, and I think that this movie is just gorgeous to look at. I also love some of the aerial shots used with the crow, the bird flying around the theater, and some of the POV kill shots. I mean, just wonderful stuff, in my opinion. I'm one of the biggest fans of opera. Once again, I know this is starting to be crazy, But this is an S tier for me. I absolutely love Dario Argento's opera. A great movie, a total 10 out of 10 for me, and one I always go back and watch. Now, a lot of people will tell you, though, that that was the end of Argento's greatness. A lot of people will say that was the end of his great run. And we can stop. I mean, we can look at the list right here. His great run, fun fact, the director of Saw 2 is a fan of Argento. Yes, but I can't think of his damn name. Darren. Well, I don't want to say Darren. I think his name is Darren. What the fuck? Let me look at his damn name here. Saw 2, Darren. What the fuck is his name? Darren Lynn Bousman. That's it. Got it. Okay, sorry. I knew I was close. Darren Lynn Bousman, yes, he was definitely a fan of that. Five masterpieces, you can't say that for a lot of filmmakers. Yeah, no, look, I mean, look at this. Look at these movies. Like, you have 9 movies, and none of them are below a C, and you're eight of the 9 are a B or better. That's crazy. And then you have 7 of the 9 that are an A or better. That's fucking incredible. I don't know if there's any other filmmaker that like has that. Like I don't think I love John Carpenter, but Dark Star is not a fucking Dark Star is like a D for me. Like it's definitely not an easy thing to do. But to me, and a lot of people say this is the prime era of Argento. What I have on the screen here, I highly agree with that. I do think this was the prime of his career. Now, do I think the rest of his career is worthless? No. We'll get into that right now. I guess we can move on to his effort from 1990. Of course, his collaboration with George A. Romero. This is Two Evil Eyes. Yes, Two Evil Eyes. Of course, Romero did the one, like, it was more of a, it's not exactly a quote unquote zombie segment. Of course, they both took stories from Edgar Allan Poe and they adapted them. Argento did The Black Cat, which has been adapted about 100 times, whether it be Lucio Fulci's The Black Cat, whether it be Stuart Gordon's The Black Cat in the Masters of Horror series, and here with Argento. And I believe it's been done even more than that. Like, I know that that's not even just the only 3 adaptations, but Two Evil Eyes, man. I gotta say, with the names involved, with the names Romero and Argento involved, I'm not a big fan of this movie. And honest to God, and this stinks to say this, but Argento's story is definitely the weaker of the two. I don't think it's a really good adaptation of The Black Cat. I think it's actually quite weak. And Stuart Gordon's, on the other hand, I think his is the best. I really like Stuart Gordon's. Fulci's, man, I go back and forth with. I actually don't think the world of that one either. It's probably below average, but to me, we're doing an Argento ranking more so than a Romero ranking. If I had to judge the movie as a whole, it's probably a C. But Two Evil Eyes, to me, if you're just looking at Argento's story, to me it's a D. I'm not a fan of his version of The Black Cat. Of course, it stars Harvey Keitel, and Argento does go for it. It is wacky. It is batshit crazy. But in my humble opinion, it's just not up to the standard of what he was coming off doing. I mean, if you look at the 3 movies in a row, Tenebrae, Phenomena, Opera, 3 S's, back to back to back. That's absolutely incredible that he was able to make movies that good, that great, right in a row. And I kind of see The Black Cat, his segment in Two Evil Eyes, as a big step down. I think this was the start of people going, oh, Argento's falling off. And I can understand why. I really can. To me, Two Evil Eyes as a whole is probably a C, but for me, the Argento story alone, if I have to just judge that alone, which is what I'm going to do, I'm going to say a D. I know it's a little bit rough. I know it's a little bit, probably people will say it's unfair, but in my opinion, from those 2 names, you probably should have gotten a way better movie than you did. Part of me thinks if they didn't do Edgar Allan Poe, maybe it would have been fine. Like, maybe if they both wrote original stories and they just went out and did hour-long movies, half of a film, I think it would have been way better personally. But, I don't know. I also think maybe if they collaborated earlier, like, I know that, if you look at Creepshow, which is King and Romero, that's a great collaboration. Maybe if they had collaborated around that time, like whenever Argento was making Tenebrae, or maybe somewhere in between shooting Tenebrae and Phenomena, that would have been a really cool time to see Romero and Argento get together, because I know that Romero around that time, he had made Night Riders in 81, and then Creepshow in 82, and then there was a 3-year gap from 82 to 85. There's a 3-year gap for Argento with Tenebrae and Phenomena, and Romero from 82 to 85. There's a 3-year gap, Creepshow to Day of the Dead. If they maybe in the middle there in 83, 84 had made a collaboration, I mean, they might have made the greatest horror collaboration of all time. I'm not even kidding you. That probably would have been the case, you know. And in a parallel world, I would have liked to have seen that. But man, I don't know what we get. I think it's just not a good film in my opinion. Not the worst thing in the world, but not worthy of those two. Bought Evil Eye, that has his Black Cat, waste of money, not a fan of all. Yeah, no, not me neither, man. And that's coming from a diehard Argento mark. Two Evil Eyes is kind of average film, and that's coming from a huge Romero and Argento fan. Yes, exactly. Like, to me, like, if some, like, actually, I talked to AJ about this, and I don't know if AJ is still here. I think AJ said he was recording something. AJ asked me, he's like, should I watch that? He was like, you, if all people, you would know. And I was like, honestly, I'm the biggest mark of both guys, and I'm gonna say no. So I don't know. It's like 2 hours. I don't know, man. Not a big fan. We can move on from that though and talk about his film from 1993. This stars his daughter. This was the first collaboration between the two, and this is Trauma from 1993. Of course, Brad Dourif is in this in a small role. Of course, Piper Laurie. This one's famous for being the first English-speaking Argento film that he ever did. And in my humble opinion, now a lot of people are going to fucking disagree with this, but I think this is a fucking great movie. I really do. I think this is fantastic. This is one of those movies that a lot of people, they tell me, I saw it once and I didn't care for it. That's a lot. Like, you ask almost anybody who's seen this movie, that's the answer you get. I saw it once, didn't care for it, never cared to go back. I hear you out. I hear you. But this is a really fucking good horror film, in my opinion. And, like, first and foremost, I really like Aja as an actress. I think she's a great actress. She has a great charisma to her, a great look, just a beautiful woman. And in this particular film, I really like there are some dream sequences and then real sequences where she's standing out in the rain and you kind of hear this person calling. And it is just so atmospheric. I love the atmosphere that this movie brings to the table. And I also really love the killer. Now, the killer in this film uses this weird sort of contraption. And I know this sounds weird, but it is like a contraption where it's like this machine that decapitates people. And almost everybody that dies in this film dies because of this machine that decapitates you. And Brad Dourif has a really great, memorable death scene. And there's a lot of, once again, there's a lot of red herrings. And by the end, man, this one, the twist at the ending and the backstory as to why the killer is doing the killings is fucking insane. Like, I don't want to ruin it for people. I won't ruin it for people, but it's fucking crazy. Like, if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. The crazy twist at the end of this movie and like the backstory of the killer, fantastic. And like, you could totally understand why the killer's doing what they're doing. It's one of those things where it's like, it's not justified, but you could see why. It's a really, really good movie. I like the pacing of it. I know a lot of people will put this one down for being slow or dull, but I don't know, man. I think this one goes at a pretty decent enough pace. It has that classic Argento atmosphere. I think that I don't know, for a lot of reasons for me, I think it's one of his most underrated. And I definitely think this deserves a better release. I know there's a region, I think it's a region free Blu-ray of it, but it goes for dumb money. And from what I've heard, it's pretty bare bones. Not one I own. One I'm kind of waiting for a better edition of. I'd like a better special edition of it. Not even a 4K, but just like a better Blu-ray, maybe with some features, maybe an interview with Aja, maybe even an interview with Brad Dourif. I would like to see. Like, I would love to hear Brad Dourif talk about Argento. I think that'd be fucking sick. But Trauma for me, man, and a lot of people are going to be like, what the fuck? To me, this is either a B plus or an A minus. It's very close. I could honestly teeter on either one. I will, for now, I'll put it at a B plus, a high B plus. I really like the film. I think it's a really good flick. But in my opinion, definitely one that the people that say, I've watched it one time and I didn't care for it, do yourself a favor, go in with an open mind and watch it again. I'm telling you, I don't think you'll be sorry. More and more I watch it, I think it's a really, really great movie and one that more people need to see. So that's Trauma. I'm going to give it a high B plus. Let's see. Aiden Babber says, Trauma is an unsung gem, and it shows Argento could work well making American horror films. The film is insane. Exactly, Aiden. You don't see the shit at the end of this movie in most American horror films. And I say that in the best goddamn way I can say it. It's just a movie that everybody needs to see. And I think it's the film where a lot of Argento enthusiasts point at and go, that's the beginning of the end. When he came to America, and that's really where he started to fall off. I completely beg to differ, man. I completely beg to differ. I think this is an excellent film and one that all Argento fans should give a second try if they didn't like it the first time around. But moving on, 3 years after that, he, of course, made another film with his daughter, Asia, and this is from 1996. This is the Stendhal Syndrome. Yes, the Stendhal Syndrome from 1996. Another one that I think is super underrated. I really, really enjoy this movie. This is a lot of people would classify this as like rape revenge, and I don't think I would go quite there with it. But to me, the thing that stands out most about this movie is some of the opening shots of Asia walking in and out of like paintings, and it's fucking amazing. Like it's so trippy. Like if you like trippy atmosphere, dreamsicle, like feeling movies, the Stendhal Syndrome is the movie for you. It's just absolutely wild. In a lot of ways, it's two films in one because about halfway through, the movie completely shifts gears out of nowhere, and a lot of people hate that. I personally really love it. And I think this is probably Aja's one of her best performances with Dario Argento. It's either this or a film later on we're going to talk about. But I really like her as the lead in this film. I think she definitely was a little bit stronger of an actress here as opposed to what she was in Trauma. Not that she was bad in Trauma, but I definitely like her better here. I think she has more charisma. There's a great scene where she's wearing this wig, this blonde wig, and like trying to be low-key undercover. And I like that stuff. I think there's definitely the only drawback of this film is some of the CGI. I really definitely like don't understand why they use some of the CGI they use in this film. I know CGI was just like the new kid on the block at this point, but man, there's a CGI scene in this where like this bullet goes through this person's like mouth, and like it is one of the worst CGI shots I've ever seen. Like it makes The Rock in the Scorpion King look like a good CGI shot. It's a really bad CGI shot. But not to define this movie, I think this movie is definitely intense and it brings a great intensity to his filmography. I think it's one of those movies where I watch it, I'm like, well, I'm ready to be fucking. This is going to be intense film. And now, fun fact about this one that I didn't realize: Bridget Fonda actually was originally going to be the lead as opposed to Asia Argento. Bridget Fonda, believe it or not, is a diehard Argento fan. I know, weird person to be like a diehard Dario Argento fan, but she actually was a huge fan of Argento's work, and she wanted to work with him by any means. And now that he had started making films in the United States, she was like, yo, let me be the lead in this movie. Apparently, what happened was scheduling conflicts, and then he just decided, fuck it, I'll cast Asia. I'm happy he casted Asia personally. I really like Asia, but I definitely at the same time, part of me is like, what would Bridget Fonda have been like in an Argento film? It would have been really cool to see, and I would have been down to see it, to be honest. Once again, in a parallel world, I would have liked to have seen Bridget Fonda in the film and seen what she would have done with the part. But personally, I really like the movie we got. I really like Asia Argento, and I think she's just a wonderful actress in this. I will totally actually give Stendhal Syndrome the same rating as Trauma. I'm going to go with a high B+. I think both of these movies are super slept on, super underrated. I actually think the Stendhal Syndrome is slightly better than Trauma. I really like the Stendhal Syndrome. It's definitely like the highest of B pluses to an A minus. It's close. We could discuss it at the end if we want to move any of these, or people think I'm not fair. We could definitely discuss these. Aiden says, Argento did Trauma after Two Evil Eyes. Let that sink in. That's actually pretty crazy. It's a great rebound. And considering he moved to a different country to make the film, and it turned out as good as Trauma did, it's pretty incredible. The Stendhal Syndrome is a great little film. I adore Argento, but he's always terrible with usage of CGI. Yeah, no, I don't know why. For all the great filmmakers of the golden era, whether it be Carpenter, and even though like if you watch Escape from LA, there's some bad CG in that. But nobody suffered worse from it than Argento to me. Like nobody. Like it's just I don't know why, but he decided to go CG route from this movie on. Like a lot of his movies, some of them have CGI, especially the last one we'll talk about. But I definitely I don't know. Stendhal Syndrome, aside from that CGI, it's a fucking great film. I really really enjoy it. Very trippy, very atmospheric. Oh boy. Oh fucking boy. On to 1998's film. Holy shit, man. I don't even know what the fuck to say about this. The Phantom of the Opera, starring his daughter again, Dario Argento. This was their third, I believe, collaboration of I guess now it's five, and then there's a sixth one coming, which the black sunglasses, that should be released sometime soon. But yes, Phantom of the Opera. Holy oh Jesus, as old Jordy Vera will say, this is a piece of shit. This is an absolute fucking mess of a film. This is like one of very few Argento films that I can't fucking stand. And I think it's actually a mess on every single level. And I think this is one of those Argento films that gives his later half of his career a bad name. And unjustly so. Like, I don't think that, like, if you look at Trauma and the Stendhal Syndrome, those are definitely up there with being really, really good movies. Whereas this one just completely falls flat for me. I just I can't fucking understand what he was trying to go for here. I don't get it. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. It's just, oh man, it's a bad one. Corey says Phantom is an S? Dude, please be fucking kidding. Please be. I pray you're kidding, man. This is, what the fuck? I don't know what happened here. Okay, if there's anything that's S tier in this movie, it's how hot Dario Argento looks in it. That's the only positive I can give this movie. Like, it is a clunky, goofy fucking mess. And like, I've heard people say it's so bad it's good. I've heard that, but man, this is not so bad it's good. This is just a bad film. I am an unapologetic Dario Argento mark. But to me, this is the first time in his career that he took the director's chair. He took the fucking film project and he absolutely failed on it. To me, The Phantom of the Opera is an easy F, easy fail, just a really poor film in his filmography, in my humble opinion. Now, moving on. Now, see, it's funny that now we actually have one in the F column, so we have to put one up next to it. But Phantom of the Opera, that's here to stay. There's nobody. Corey, I'm sorry. I don't know how the hell you think that's an S. I'm guessing you're trolling. I'm guessing you're being a fucking troll on that. I hope you're being a troll on that, because if you really like that, man, I don't know. I would fall out of my fucking chair right now. But yeah, that one's an F for me. Fast forward into the 21st century. Holy moly. Yes, we're on the 21st century of Dario Argento films now. This is absolutely wild. Arthur Bremer's in the house. I came to Simfer Grande and chew some bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Yeah! Arthur Bremer, dude, it's been a long time since I've seen your name, man. Hope all is well with you, buddy. Good to see your name on here. But yeah, no, moving on into the 21st century, Argento's first film effort of that year, of this millennium, I guess. It's Sleepless from 2001. And this, what a return to form after Phantom of the Opera, after the fucking train wreck known as Phantom of the Opera. This is a fantastic fucking giallo film, a fantastic little movie. Part of me, I always want to talk about the train sequence in this film where the woman is going from cart to cart and the killer is chasing her, and just some of the intensity that that scene brings. And I know that Argento and the producer argued that the producer felt it should be at the end of the movie, like a great final act on this train going cart to cart. And then Argento felt it would be better to put it at the beginning of the movie and have it be like a good, movie to hook you in. And it's one of those things, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? Because I love that it hooks you in. I love that they use it in the beginning of the film. It really is a great hook and a great tone setter for the rest of this film. But I definitely think it may have worked better as a finale, because the finale of this isn't as good as the setup. I will say that. Of course, you have Max von Sydow in this. He plays a detective, and they're trying to figure out who's doing all these murders, who's committing all these crimes. And I think it's a really, really well done, fun tale. And they have this little nursery rhyme of like all these clues they're getting. But there's some classic Argento shots in this. Of course, there's this scene where the people there at a bar, and one of their drinks gets poisoned, and Argento only shoots the beer and the beer is like all the bubbles floating to the top of it, and you hear what's going on, but the only thing we see as an audience is this beer. And it's so fucking brilliant how he does it, man. It's one of those things, it should be taught in film class. That's how brilliant it is. I also, there's a great scene where you follow these people. I gotta take a drink. Sorry, guys. My throat's getting a little sore. Sorry about that. My throat's getting dry. Fuck. Man, sorry about that. Dusty as fuck in my room. Dusty road, baby. Let's see. So, where was I? Okay, so Sleepless, the scenes where, you know, he's shooting these people walking back and forth in the hallway, and one of them is the killer. And you know what's going to go down, but he only ever shoots the walking. He only ever shoots the feet. And then, like, what happens is the person gets killed and you see these shoes take off in the other direction. Just great stuff, in my opinion. Really, really good classic Argento. To me, this is him dialing back the clock to movies like The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, movies like Four Flies and Grey Velvet, and being more of the classic quintessential giallo film as opposed to a new school movie. Like, if you watch this movie, there's no way you feel, oh, that's a 2001 film. It doesn't feel like that at all. It's very old school in its execution, and I really appreciate it for that. I really like Sleepless. I'm going to rank Sleepless once again right here at the B level, high B plus level for me. Of these three here that I have, aside from Inferno, of course, I think it might be the best one. I know Scorpion releasing through a Blu-ray out. I have it. It is fucking great transfer. It's one of the best Blu-ray transfers I've ever seen. It's a really, really good film, in my opinion. I highly recommend Sleepless to anyone who's not seen it. But moving on next, of course, I do see Aiden's comment. And sorry, guys, I'm sorry. I just started to get like really, sore throat. But I'm okay now. I drank some agua. I should be good to go. I love the kills in Sleepless, and the score is good. Yeah, no, it's a really good throwback, Aiden. I really like Sleepless. I think it's a great film. I really enjoy it. I think it's one of Argento's last great movies. But up next, we have from 2004, I believe. This is Dario Argento's The Card Player. Now, this is a lot like if Dario Argento directed Saw or something like Saw. Like, it's very similar to that style, like a torture porn movie, even though it's hard to say because it's also not. Like, it is and it isn't at the same time. I don't know. This is a hard film to explain, but it's also at times almost like a cop thriller, like something you'd see on like Law and Order or something. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, is this the greatest movie in the world? By no means. And I'm a big card player. I actually really like playing cards. So I thought when I first went into this, I was like, yo, I'm a huge Texas Hold'em guy. Dario Argento's making the film. Like, we're doing cards, we're doing Argento, maybe a little boobs and blood, maybe. I'm hoping and thinking all these things. And part of me, man, it's just a little too tame for me, considering the type of film that they were trying to make. And I don't know, I've always been very iffy on this one. It's not one of my favorites. It's probably one of the lesser movies of his career. I see Aiden says Argento's The Card Player gave me Saw and CSI vibes. Yeah, it's not. It's not like the worst Saw ripoff ever. It's not even like a bad CSI episode, but it's just not one of the better ones either. Like, considering all of his work, to me, it's definitely lower tier. Man, part of me wants to say C minus or D plus here. I'm very in between. Man, I don't know. This is tough. I probably gonna put The Card Player on a D tier. It's a D plus for me. It has its moments, but at the end of the day, I definitely don't think it's one of his best works. It's one that I actually probably should go back and rewatch. It's probably one of the ones I've seen the least. I've seen it about twice. And I know that I think Scorpion Releasing did a Blu-ray of that too. I think they did a Blu-ray release of the past three that I talked about: Sleepless, The Card Player, and Phantom of the Opera. Which of those three, Sleepless is easily the best. So don't fool yourself. Sleepless is definitely the best of those three movies. But that's The Card Player. For me right now, it's going to be a D plus. But we can do a review at the end and see, where we want to go from here. But here's one that I think is a little super underrated. This is from 2005. This is a TV movie. This is Do You Like Hitchcock? Yes. Do You Like Hitchcock? Of course, harkening back to Argento's love for Alfred Hitchcock as a filmmaker. And of course, Argento directs this film, which is it's Giallo like, and he kind of tries to pay homage to Alfred Hitchcock. Now, once again, he's a little bit limited that this is a TV movie, and he's a little bit limited in that, you can't do as much on TV as you can when it comes to a theatrical cinematic experience. But with that being said, man, I find this to be definitely a decent, like love letter to Alfred Hitchcock. Like, I definitely think this is a nice love letter to Alfred Hitchcock and the films that he would make back in the day. I don't think this is the worst movie in the world. I know a lot of people would consider it like one of his worst. I don't, though. Probably for me, though, this will probably come in at about a C. I definitely can get some enjoyment out of Do You Like Hitchcock? It's one that, another one that definitely needs a better release, I think, and one that I definitely would like to pick up if they ever did do a Blu-ray or a better release of it. I think Do You Like Hitchcock definitely deserves more of an audience than it gets. It's a nice little like love letter movie to me. It's nothing great, nothing groundbreaking, but I don't think he was trying to do that. I think it was just like I'm trying to make a film here. I'm trying to homage one of my faves, and I think he's definitely able to succeed in that. To me, it's like a average run of the mill movie, like a C plus. The Card Player is an average, but it's no lost classic. I would probably give it a B minus. It has good performances and cool set pieces. I even like the score, but the finale is questionable. Yeah, no, what the fuck? What is that finale? Like, it's funny, and I'm trying not to spoil some of these. Like I definitely, because I know a lot of these people probably haven't seen. And I don't want to be unfair, so I don't want to like tell the big twist ending of Trauma, because that's like when I first saw that I was like mesmerized. I was like, wow, what the fuck? This is absolutely crazy. But really good stuff at the same time. So I don't know. I'm trying not to spoil these as much as I can, but I don't know. To me, Do You Like Hitchcock? That's going to come in at the C plus level. So moving on into, of course, his Masters of Horror work, and what's funny? I've seen a lot of people shit on his Masters of Horror work and say like, "Oh, he was terrible," blah blah blah. No fucking way, man. No fucking way. I love both his episodes of Masters of Horror, and this is going to be two fun ones to discuss. Of course, the first one from the first season, this is Dario Argento's Jennifer. Yes, Jennifer. Of course, written by Steven Weber. Of course, Steven Weber is the lead, and of course, it stars him as this cop. And in the opening scene, he witnesses this man trying to murder this woman, and he tells the guy to stop. The guy doesn't. He shoots the guy down. And of course, when he runs to the woman, he sees that her face is absolutely mangled. I mean, absolutely mangled. I mean, horrifying. Of course, you could see it on this little thumbnail here. But if you even go and Google Dario Argento's Jennifer and the design of this face, it is absolutely horrifying stuff. But what I think is the beauty of this little episode is Argento diving into the horrors of sexuality. And he delved into a little bit in Tenebrae. There's definitely some sexual themes in there with the woman with the red heels on the beach. But I definitely think that this is just even creepier than Tenebrae. It's definitely more of old school horror trying to scare you, as opposed to Tenebrae, which is like a straight up giallo, even though it's a great atmospheric giallo, one of the best. But to me, this is straight up horror, and it's horror done perfect, because it's funny where Jennifer, she has this disgusting face. She has this 10 out of 10 banging body. And it's almost asking us as the viewer, are you turned on by Jennifer or are you not? And that's what's so creepy about it, because Steven Weber knows he shouldn't be. He knows that he has this beautiful wife and kid at home too. But it's almost like she takes over him. Like she just consumes his entire life and entire well-being. And I really like the psychology there. And of course, Claudio Simonetti returns to do the music in this, and he does a wonderful job of the classic, like the laws and stuff like that. It's really, really good stuff, in my opinion. I really enjoy some of that stuff. Now, hold on, I accidentally switched the screen. Let me go back here. Sorry about that. Now, I definitely I definitely really like though that the psychology of this episode. I think it's really well done. I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, Steven Weber, it's very predictable. His script is very predictable, and you know where it's going to end." I understand that, but I don't think that's the point of this. I don't think that's the point of a lot of Argento films. Like, I don't think it's the point of The Bird with the Crystal Plumage to guess the ending. I think the point of the film is to enjoy the ride you're on. Same thing with Suspiria. Same thing with Phenomena. I don't think it's really about the, oh, wow, you fooled me at the end. I think a lot of it is the experience along the way. And I find Jennifer to be a really terrifying experience. And it's funny enough, at the end of this episode, when they do the credits, they say you've been watching Jennifer in a kind of homage to Argento's Suspiria. Instead of you've been watching Suspiria, it's you've been watching Jennifer. This is another experience. And I watched an interview with Argento on this, and he said that he really didn't approach this like a television episode. He approached it like a film because he said, I'm a filmmaker and my goal is to turn out a great film every time. And in my opinion, Jennifer is just that. I think it's one of the best Masters of Horror episodes, probably in my top five. Aiden says, I love Argento's Masters of Horror episodes. They are highlights in the series. Absolutely agree with that, Aiden. And, people are going to hate me for this, but this is going to be an A tier for me. I absolutely love Dario Argento's Jennifer. To me, it's just a wonderfully creepy story. Steven Weber gives a great performance in the lead, and Claudia Simonetti's music, the direction, it's just not one that people should watch for a story. I think a lot of people watch it and go, "Oh, that's bad. That's predictable. That's this. That's that." That's not the point. It's the horrors of sexuality. I think that's the brilliance of Jennifer. I think it's a really, really good script. And the psychology Argento brings, the style, it's great stuff. For me, Jennifer is an A. I really like Jennifer. I think it's a great episode of Masters of Horror. Now, the following year, of course, season two of Masters of Horror, which it was a really short-lived show, unfortunately, because I think it's a fucking great show. The following season, of course, Argento returned to the director's chair, and of course, he made Pelts. I, Pelts, man, holy shit! So the story of Pelts is Meatloaf. Yes, that Meatloaf, of course, Meatloaf himself. He is obsessed with this hooker, and he really wants to impress her. He really wants her to be his. He wants to have sex with her, and of course, he works in this kind of coat factory. He's like the owner, and he's working with John Saxon, which cool to see. All of the years later, after Tenebrae, John Saxon and Dario Argento reunite for a mini collaboration, and John Saxon claims, I found these great raccoon pelts and you could sell them and make great coats. And basically, the raccoon pelts are haunted. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Haunted raccoon fur from hell. And anybody that comes in contact with this coat or with the pelts starts to go star craving mad and either murders people around them, tortures themselves, or murders themselves, or sometimes a combination between the three. It is fucking wild. There's one guy, he closes a bear trap on his face. He takes a baseball bat to John Saxon's head. There's this one woman, she's like a sewer at the fucking coat factory. She sews her eyes shut. Just wild. Of course, Meatloaf, towards the end, he cuts off all his own skin and makes it as a coat to impress this hooker. Fucking insane, man. Absolutely insane shit. Like the gore in this, the makeup effects, wild. Absolutely wild, but really well done. I love Meatloaf in the lead. I also think for a lot of people that say, oh, this is just gore, this is just Argento making a gore episode, I beg to differ. Watch the scene where Meatloaf enters the room waiting for the lap dance, and you see that red door, and he sits down, and like the camera just sort of pans around him like a 360 pan. That is classic. I repeat, classic Dario Argento. Just fantastic filmmaking. I adore this episode. It's one of the best season two episodes and one of the best of the entire series, in my opinion. It just mixes everything, mixes a little bit of fucked up love, a little bit of gore, a little bit of violence, all the shit we know and love with Dario Argento. To me, all coming together in one really fun episode of a great show that was short lived. And Peltz is going to go right in the A slot as well. Both episodes of Masters of Horror, I am super high on. I really like both of them because I think he took a step back. I really do, because he could be defined a lot as the Giallo guy, or with the Three Mothers trilogy, oh, the supernatural, the witch filmmaker, whatever. These two movies harken back a lot to why I like Phenomena. They're very grand. There's very grand episodes because they have a little bit of something else to them. Whereas, Sleepless, I like the film a lot. I really do. It's a straight up Giallo mystery film. Whereas Jennifer, there's so many themes going on. There's so much to think about. And the same with Pelts. And I think that they both add all the stuff that we love in other Argento films, but with adding a little bit of extra layers around it. I really do enjoy Pelts. To me, an easy A. Let's see. I know this is going to be unpopular opinion, but Pelts is my favorite episode of Masters of Horror. It shows how great a filmmaker Argento can be and how ridiculous a story. Yes, yes, that's a great point, Aiden. This is a ridiculous story. It really is. I mean, Pelts is as ridiculous as it gets. Haunted raccoon fur. How could it be any less goofy than that? But Argento, he tackled it in such a way where by the end, even though it is over the top, it's taken seriously. And you're like, holy fucking shit, man, this is nuts. And I don't know. I personally am in love with this one. I think it's a great, great episode. Highly recommend anyone who hasn't seen Pelts. A classic Argento for me. Argento's Pelts showed Argento still had it as a filmmaker. Absolutely. I think he still had it as a filmmaker as well. Now, I don't want to end this on a down note, so I'm going to skip the next film. And save it for the end. And for the meantime, we will go to his film from 2009, and this is his film Giallo, starring Adrian Brody. Holy fucking shit, this is a piece of shit movie. This is an F. I will just spoil it right now and say this is an F. This is arguably his worst movie he ever made. Like, this is right up there with the worst movie he ever made. It actually makes Phantom of the Opera look decent. I know that there was all sorts of problems with this, whether it be Adrian Brody being difficult to work with, the producer being difficult to work with, the writer being difficult to work with. I mean, every single thing in this movie just went wrong. This was the definition of a troubled shoot. And the end result is this really big fucking piece of shit known as Giallo. And it's a shame because of all the great Giallos Dario Argento made, the one called Giallo is the worst. I mean, it's actually poetic in some ways. I absolutely hate Giallo. And I know Argento, I believe, agreed with all the critiques on the film, people saying that it was a piece of shit. Even he admits that it was a piece of shit. So I appreciate that he admitted it was a piece of shit. And I appreciate that, sometimes people can get into bad shoots. Like, I know a lot of people say that with Wes Craven's Cursed, like that was a troubled production and hence why people don't really like the movie. Even Cursed is better than Giallo. I would say Giallo is one of his worst movies. Aiden says, give Giallo an F. This movie sucks. Yeah, no. Giallo is the second failure of Argento's career, in my humble opinion. A true letdown, I think, for diehard Argento fans. Now we move into his last film to date. This is Dracula 3D. What in the fuck? What the hell happened with this? This is like unexcusably bad. Like there are fucking porn films that have better production value than this movie. Like this, it looks like shit, and like you would never know Dario Argento fucking directed this if I didn't tell you. And like, it's weird. There's all these bad CGI in it. Like there's a CGI owl. There's a CGI praying mantis. There's like so much bad CGI in this. Like I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. And like to have it in 3D, has anyone actually ever seen the fucking film in 3D? Like there's no way this got released to a theater. So I don't even know if there's a way you could watch Dracula 3D in 3D, which is it's even more poetic because it's almost just like perfectly fucking sums up this piece of shit movie. It's like you can't even watch it in the way that it was supposed to be seen. Isn't that fucking poetic? I don't know. A total piece of shit movie. Aj Argento's in it. Rutger Hauer is also in it. He shows up in this film. May he rest in peace. He shows up as Van Helsing. Again, I don't know, man. Just not one of the better Dracula adaptations. Possibly the worst Dracula adaptation ever. A true total piece of shit, in my humble opinion. And it's a shame that if this is Argento's last film, I know Black Sunglasses, that's supposedly going to be his last movie. He's at least trying to make that now. Of course, COVID stopped the production of that once they announced it. So I don't know if they will go out there and make that. I hope they do, because I wouldn't want to see Argento, a great filmmaker like him, end on a note like this. Dracula 3D is a total piece of shit. Aiden says that villain in Giallo is goofy as fuck. Yeah, no, he really is. Dracula 3D, what the fuck is this film and what everyone's smoking on the shoot? I can't think of anything good about this film, and then some of the gore and nudity. This movie makes me sad. Yeah, no, this is it was a sad day in the sun, because like I actually was excited for this. And part of that reason is the movie I'll talk about last, because I thought Giallo was more of, this was a troubled shoot. This is not his fault. This is not his fault. And then when I saw Dracula 3D, I was like, all right, he's lost it. Like, he's officially lost it. Like, I love you, Dario, but you've lost it. Please stop. Maybe the 10 years off will make him do better than Dracula 3D, but I am not holding my breath. I think that in a lot of ways he should maybe not make anything else anymore. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe just maybe he'll figure it out. But until then, we'll talk about this last movie I will rank here today, and this is from 2007. Of course, this was the finale of the Three Mothers trilogy. 27 years after Inferno, 27 years, we get the Mother of Tears. Yes, Mother of Tears. Now, almost every diehard Argento fan will tell you this is not a good movie. And they'll tell you right where I have it right now, right where I have it is where it belongs. That's where a lot of people will tell you. And I can hear their gripes. I understand. A lot of the gripes are that it's not stylistically the same as Suspiria and Inferno. It's not using the same color palette. In fact, a lot of the film can be bleak at times. That's the big criticism of this movie. Now, where I disagree is that I think for this movie, for this moment in time, somehow, some way, Dario Argento returned to form. And I think he almost like he got into a time machine and returned to the 1970s. And then with the modern day equipment and a modern day crew and his daughter, and somehow made this fucking masterpiece. I don't know how he did it. I to this day don't know how he did it. This is a fantastic fucking movie, in my opinion. Of course, Aja stars in this one, and there's just absolute insanity going on in this film. Whether it be throwing babies off bridges or fucking slamming this lady's head in the car door of a train. The crazy, wacky finale when Aja is running through the building and seeing all this crazy shit. The Mother of Tears herself being defrocked and then speared by this giant fucking pillar right through the chest. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. This film has a pace that never lets up. I adore the pace of it. I adore the harken back to finish the Three Mothers trilogy. I adore the gore in the movie. Udo Kier's death scene in particular, where he just gets meat cleavered over and over and over to the face to the point of almost absurdity, but it's just absolutely incredibly done. I love the mythology. I love the lore. I love that they dive deeper into the Three Mothers and the Mother of Tears being the last mother that is alive. Really good stuff. I like that he decided, hey, instead of making the third one in the 80s, he decided, let me wait a long, long time, and then when the time is right, I'm going to make this movie. And I'm really glad to say that I think this is his most underrated. I really do. I think this deserves a special edition Blu-ray. I think this deserves more people to love it. I don't know. I wish this movie had a better, bigger audience, because a lot of people just see this and go, that's a big step down from Inferno and Suspiria. Where in fact, I think it's actually a big step up for Inferno, like unbiasedly speaking, because I know that the main draw of Argento is style. I get that, and I'll be the first one to tell you that is the main draw. He has one of the best filmmaking styles of all time. He really does. But that's not to say that he couldn't bring more to the table. And with this film, I think he brought a great style. I think he brought a great substance. I think he brought a great story. And I think that in a lot of ways, I look at this as his swan song. Like Suspiria was the beginning of the magnum opus talk. And is this one of the great filmmakers that ever lived? And to sort of end that trilogy here with this movie, where he completely, to me, returned to form and returned to all the great things that make him the filmmaker that we know and love today. I look no further than Mother of Tears from 2007. I think it's just a fantastic movie, a movie that I watch time and time again. I've had this little tradition every Halloween for the past like 2, 3 years. I have watched Mother of Tears on Halloween Day. It's a great Halloween night movie to me. It's just fun. It's great. And like the way I explain it is your 20th birthday, I'm sorry, is your 60th birthday going to be as fun as your 20th birthday? Probably not. But Dario Argento came damn close because all these years later, I think he still turned out a great, great film. And Mother of Tears to me, and I know a lot of people disagree, a lot of people scoff, a lot of people probably call me some horrible names, but it is going to come right here at the top as an S tier Dario Argento film, in my opinion. I know a lot of people disagree. Is there things I don't like about the film? There's a couple. Maybe the Dario Niccolodi being like Obi-Wan Kenobi, like that doesn't have to be in there. Like I think it's kind of, but at the same time it's kind of laughable of just like what the fuck, like, and then the way the whole thing that character goes, like it's pretty crazy. But man, some of the kills in this, the atmosphere, I love my favorite shot, one of my favorite shots of Argento's entire career is when Aja is entering the gates of the building she's going to go into for the third act, and he lingers on the fear on her face. That's Dario Argento at his best. A lot of people will share the Susie Bannion, the Jessica Harper shot of her being terrified with the knife in her hand. We see that shot day after day after day. You can't go on the internet, you can't talk about Argento without seeing that shot. But to me, man, one of the great shots too that should be right up there with it is Aja Argento and entering the gates with that blue filter light on her horrified face, telling just a wonderful story. I love The Mother of Tears, one of my favorite Dario Argento movies of all time, and a film that gets unjustly shit on. And I will put it over to the day I die too. I see Aiden says that he'll defend it to the day he dies. Hell yeah. Mother of Tears is epic finale to the Three Mothers trilogy. Every time I watch it, I always have a smile on my face. It's a masterpiece. I agree with you, Aiden. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. I love the film. To me, it is the true return to form after opera. And I mean, look, you had 1987 was opera, and then 2007 was Mother of Tears. 20 years between masterpieces. But I do think that of all the great horror filmmakers out there, that this was really the true return to form that I was looking for. Whether it be Romero, whether it be Carpenter, whether it be Craven, I don't think any of them had a movie this good this late in their career. And I know a lot will disagree, and I'll probably get some horrible comments, but that's just my humble opinion. That's just my 2 cents, if you will. So this is it. I guess this is the entire list ranked. Of course, I've not seen these two, so I can't be unfair and give a grade. We can review this and see if I want to move anything. I don't know. Aiden seems like the only person in the chat. What do you think, Aiden? Anything that I was too harsh on or too lenient on? Should I move anything? I think it's like some of these I definitely think could be A. Like Sleepless could be A, Stendhal could be A, but at the same time, I think they're good B plus. Like I don't think that like they're good, but A is a big grade, man. I don't know. If it's an A, it's an A minus, I would say. Cat O' Nine and Hitchcock, I think they're fine where they are. Two Evil Eyes is a D. Card Player is a D. These three are definitely Fs. No problem with those. People will say I have Peltz, Jennifer, and Mother of Tears too high, but I disagree. I think they're fucking right where they have to be. And I think these five are definitely, these six are definitely S tier. Yeah, you know what? I'm happy with this list. I'm not going to touch it. If you guys disagree, if you guys, beg to differ, please do tell me. I'm definitely all ears. Of course, in the comment section below. This went way longer than I ever thought it would. I thought this would be 20 minutes, and it ended up being like an hour and a half. So I apologize for going long, but this was just an impromptu thing I wanted to try. This was a lot of fun to do. I thank everybody for watching me tonight. Aiden, thank you so much. Corey, thank you so much for helping me get set up. Of course, I asked Corey before I started how to set this up. I wasn't sure, but he helped me, so that was really cool of him. Thank you. We'll be having the graveyard this week. Of course, Corey will actually be coming on from that. Friday the 13th, one of the films we'll be doing a commentary for. I won't spoil which one because I actually don't know. And of course, our series Summertime Slash, and we'll have a new episode dropping Friday. So a lot of me and Corey this week. A lot of good stuff and absolutely no regrets. But I just want to say tribute to Mr. Dario Argento, one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, arguably my favorite. It was fun to go through his filmography with you all here tonight. So this is my list. This is Argento ranked. And if you agree, if you disagree, comment down below. Let me know. That's going to be all for tonight, though. I got to hit the bed. I've got to hit work in the morning. So everybody have a wonderful, safe rest of the night. And I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Thank you all who tuned in. And we will catch you next time only on the graveyard. Too sweet peace, and we'll catch you next time.